Hi, if you haven't watched my previous video, this is a part 2 for that. You don't have to watch the first one, but it would mean a lot to me if you did. Quick rundown, I'm going to show y'all 3 different things you can do with your OCs, starting with the easiest project and ending with the hardest one, according to me of course. Everything here uses free software or has a free alternative. Also stick around to the end for a little something special. Okay, that's all the rules, and I'm trying to make my intros a little bit quicker, so let's get into it. Digital collage is something I've done a few times, but never with the intent to do it for my OCs, so this was a learning experience for me as well. There are a ton of different methods to do this, but one that I was really eager to try out was Pinterest collage feature, of all things. This allows you to pick from, pretty much any image on the entire site and add it to your collage. You can do things like the object selection tool in Photoshop basically, and cut out specific parts of the image, though it is kinda imprecise sometimes, so you might have to fiddle around with it a bit. It is incredibly simple though, and you don't get a whole lot of options for customization, but just with the tools they give you, you can do quite a bit. It's also incredibly easy to get started with, and I think I created my first collage in only 12 minutes. My collage was for a character who I have not showcased at all on this channel yet, called Ezekiel. His character takes a lot of inspiration from the concept of corrupting light and like an evil angel, and he believes that he's following a god of death, and is in direct opposition to Ardeia's main gods, which are the gods of the sun and the moon. So with all of that in mind, I kinda just played around and threw random stuff in there and saw what worked, and I'm pretty dang happy with the final result given that this only took me like 12 minutes. You can also download this once you're done, and I know on mobile you can have like an animated version you can download or one where it like fades in, but on PC I think you can only download a static image. Also, look at all of these other insane collages that just popped up after I finished mine. Like, you can make some really cool stuff with this. Now, besides Pinterest, I have a couple more digital collage methods I want to show y'all. I know a mood board isn't the exact same thing as a collage necessarily, but they're kinda twins in my mind. I know Canva is incredibly popular for anything like this, but my favorite thing to use for mood boards is called PureRef. It's super easy to copy and paste any image into there, and you can customize a lot about the UI that makes it look super aesthetic. Technically, you can do this in like any program, but I like PureRef the best because I find that it just runs really well on my laptop. While something like Photoshop likes to crash a lot and is super heavy and takes up so much space, and oh my god. Something as simple as a mood board does not need a crazy program like Photoshop in order to work. I've also found that PureRef just makes me have more fun collecting references because of how customizable it is. It feels like a mini art project or a warm-up on its own. PureRef is so simple to use that I don't even really have a tutorial for it, but you can find all the UI customization options under right-click, settings, and then appearance. The last method I've done for digital collage is coding it, actually. I do not have a process for this. This is me just throwing stuff onto a website and hoping that it all looks good together, but here's what I made of Alaric. This is using the position fixed and position absolute thing I was talking about in the Neosity section. And honestly, I have no idea if this would look good on any computer except for my own. But I really enjoyed doing this because honestly, it felt even more customizable than like doing it on Photoshop or something would. And you know, if you want, you can make that double as your character's little biography page. Utility! Sometimes you need a break from drawing characters and having to worry about anatomy, proportions, etc. But you still want to draw something related to your OCs. So designing the items they carry is a great way to scratch that itch and bring a bit more life into your OCs at the same time. This is really straightforward, just think about what items your OC might have and then draw them. Really, the only advice I have is on where to find references. If your items are historical, check out museum websites for good reference photos. For me, I commonly use the Met because they have a lot of really good armor references on there. And despite all of the AI, Pinterest is still really good for references and inspiration. I'll link a board I have of armor references in the description. It's got like, 500 images in it so far. It also might be a good idea to create a list of all the items you want to draw, just so you can keep them consistent, if that's something you care about. The first time I ever did this little project was for a class I had when I was still in college. I very quickly realized how much I loved doing this because it gave me a chance to practice my rendering without having to worry about anatomy and proportions, and it gave me some practice drawing objects. If I make a bunch of different items like I did for this project, I like to put them on a nice one-page layout, or put them on a character sheet like this one. Here's a few quick ideas for what you can draw. Jewelry like rings or necklaces, weapons, which is one of my favorite things to design, smaller clothing items like corsets or hats, and other miscellaneous things like pouches. I drew a moonstone earlier that belongs to Lorraine. Maybe they have like a gold tooth or something you could draw. The possibilities are endless. Our last project is an animatic. Okay, that sounds really daunting, but an animatic doesn't have to be multiple minutes long and super polished or anything like that, nor does it have to be drawn along to a song. If you have a scene you like from a show, draw your characters in that scene. Or if you do want to use a song but you don't want to use the entire thing, just just cut out snippets of it and use those. Or if you do want to use the entire song, but it's a little bit too long, then you can always shorten it by cutting out maybe big instrumental parts or parts that just don't really fit what you're going for. This is what I did with Ouroboros because the full song is 6.5 minutes long, and I was not doing all that. You could also just take instrumental music and plan out an entirely original story, where the music is more of a background element than the focus. The animatic I'm working on here is set to the song Wolf House by Rabbitology and features Lorraine. I don't have much of a process for making animatics beyond acquiring and editing the music track, then rough planning sketches, then rough edits, to refine sketches, to refine edits, and then the final touches. And even then, these steps tend to get mixed together quite a bit. I've used Procreate for animatics in the past because of its animation feature, which makes it incredibly easy to switch between frames, but lately I've been using Procreate Dreams, which is actually made for animation. It's kind of crazy how many features this app has, and as of writing this, I plan to use it for the entire animatic, minus like the final edits and stuff. That gets done in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, it's been about a day that I've been animating with Dreams, and I want to talk about it a little bit more. It's a combination of a very simplified video editor and animation timelines, which they refer to as flipbooks. I've used Clip Studio Paint, Flip-a-Clip, Fire Alpaca / Medibang, Procreate, and a little Adobe Animate to animate before, and this is by far my favorite program. It just feels very nice to use, and it's surprisingly easy to pick up, probably because of how simple the UI is. It's only $13 USD, and it is not a subscription. So if you're an iPad user looking to upgrade from a free program, but you don't want to spend a fortune on a subscription, I highly recommend this. Alright, I'm not making the entire animatic in just this video, that would take way too long, but I do want to give y'all something, at least. So here's the rough intro to Wolf House. If the overkill amount of animation didn't make it obvious, I've been having so much fun drawing this out. It's kinda crazy. Being able to lock into an animatic again like this is so nice. I got really bad burnout around the end of my time at college, and this feels like it's pulling me out of that a bit, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I don't have any timeline for this animatic's completion, it'll get done when it gets done, but I'd like to at least release it before the end of 2026. Anyway, thank you all for watching, please like and subscribe, and you can follow me on both Instagram and TikTok at Sinister Sons. I post shorter videos on both, as well as illustrations and pulls for future merch and videos I create on my Instagram. I also have an Etsy where I sell prints, stickers, and keychains. And okay, that's all. Bye.